Wish I didn't have to waste any more time explaining the difference in perspectives, but the topic I want to lean into requires its preface. Creationism differs from mainstream theistic beliefs in that it attempts to make a statement on science. Some of these statements can be tested, and those that can be have all invariably proven to be wrong. It relies on the assumption that Scripture, rather than God, is an unquestionable authority, absolute. And they don't seem to distinguish doctrine from deity. Although inherently human, our interpretations must be suspect, though they claim divine guidance, so that they can also claim that their interpretations are absolutely infallible. Even when they disagree with other creationists also claiming infallible interpretations that may be very different. And when they say that Scripture says things that it doesn't anywhere imply, or when they say it doesn't mean things that it clearly does say. Very often it doesn't matter what the Scriptures say at all, just what they want to believe that it says. This brand of dogmatism allows baseless assertions to be presented as though they were a matter of demonstrable fact, and it allows any and all facts of reality to be dismissed simply because they don't want to accept it. All of the leading creationist organizations post statements like this, attesting to the fact that they will not change their mind, even when they know that they are evidently wrong. And there are occasions in which certain people will tell you, well, maybe these are what the facts are, but this is what I prefer to believe. That, in a sense, is the creationism movement. It means never having to admit that you're wrong. That also, of course, means that your perspective can never improve, because the only way to improve your perspective is to realize where the flaws are and to correct them. That can't happen if you won't admit that flaws can even exist. I tried to point this out to a young Muslim who was having a discussion with me face-to-face. He was trying to make a quick exit before having to concede an uncomfortable truth. And he told me, look, you're never going to change my mind, and I'm never going to change yours. And I voted him to say that he was only half right. Whereas he does not yet know what facts I may present. He knows already that he is forbidden to allow any of my arguments to convince him, no matter how right I may be. For him, it is this is enforced on pain of death, followed by the threat of a fate worse than death. Neither of these applies to me. If he can adequately support his point, I will concede that he is wrong, even if I don't want to, because for me, it's not a matter of what I want to believe. Only accurate information has practical application. So if he can prove his point, I will concede it, even if I don't want to. Because it is better to be proven wrong than to forever be wrong and never know it. Thus, I am open to change my mind where he is not, and is determined not to, no matter what. Theirs is a very black or white perspective, where there are only two choices between absolutely right and absolutely wrong. There are no extenuating circumstances, no provisional conditions. Everything is typically either 100% or zero. So one of the first, or at least most common falsehoods asserted in any discussion of the details of believing in evolution is the dichotomy that God would not or could not be involved in the orchestration of natural processes culminating in the origin and development of our species. Meaning that it was all either simultaneously sparked into being as an incantation, exactly like the story says, or if otherwise, meaning that the fable is wrong, then God himself cannot exist. If the story, God, in their perspective, appears to be that God's existence depends on the accuracy of the story and not the other way around. There are a couple of times when I hope to illustrate that we are not quite as unique as we imagine ourselves to be. So, if the story is not correct, then God must not even exist. Not their version of it, nor any superior version of it either. And God, they say, is the source of human morality. the common law between all humanity, a universal code of honor. Now, arguably, there are no political ideologies. We can't argue that all political ideologies or religious convictions all share quite the same code of honor. There are profound conflicts just within religious doctrines, even within those folks dedicated to the same gods. It's hard not to watch that while I'm talking. Even between, especially when you look back through time and look at the things that were once said to be endorsed by God himself in the old books, and which are now considered repugnant by many, most, sadly still not all, citizens of modern society. We don't even have a rigid definition of what good or evil even means. So it doesn't seem to be that there is any one moral guide we can all agree on, and what is usually promoted as such obviously comes from many different authors with often violently opposed opinions. But without an authority that is both singular and absolute for all the world's humanity, they say, we should be naught but animals, and we should behave like animals, which means we should run around killing and raping each other, and destroying all in wild abandon. The problem with that is just like the problems that were just like the photographs that were shown in the museum. Animals typically don't act like that. Usually only people do, and statistically at least. Those claiming superior morality through some brand of dogmatism are frequently found to be among the worst offenders. Ironically, some of the more desperate believers even say that fear of their God's inevitable vengeance is the only reason that they don't commit random acts of evil right now. That were it not for the threat of eternal damnation, they would run amok right away. And quite happily, as if anyone could actually be happy behaving like that, because again, it's not natural. Other animals don't act like that, and neither, oddly enough, do those of us whose morality is neither influenced nor enforced by any threat of damnation. So what went wrong? It's not what I'm here to talk about. Rather, I'd prefer to answer the question so commonly asked, where did morality come from, if we are to ascribe a purely natural explanation for all things? The only critics of evolution, those whom I just described, imagine that natural selection favors traits only specific to fight or flight, that war between predator and prey. Remember that they think that it is supposed to be a choice between the quick and the dead, that only the strong survive rather than the fittest, the best adapted, or the most versatile. Usually it is the most flexible species that win the day. But I've been told that we evolutionists are all supposed to believe as Friedrich Nietzsche did. Nietzsche famously said, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." But I don't believe that. That which does not kill us might just leave us disabled, disfigured, dismembered, discouraged, distressed, dependent, and in need of therapy. There's another type of selective advantage they're overlooking: those who have the best parents. Because evolution isn't just about survival. It's not just about getting your genes to the next generation, but allowing your genes to spread in popularity so that they go branching out through other clans in interrelationships, so that they spread throughout whole communities. This is population mechanics, and it is this level of mathematic application that evolution's detractors don't understand and won't consider. Of course, Darwin said that it is the fittest who survive, meaning not just those best adapted to their environment, but those with the best genetics to start with, the most functionally efficient, obviously. But he also discovered another, or he also highlighted another way of ensuring that our genes make it to the next generation. Have a whole lot of babies. And obviously, since then, we've discovered the economics of biological development. And we realized that not every species can procreate that often. It's not the right answer. In some cases, something else need be done. In some instances, the parents need to step up and guard the brood. And we all know that evolution isn't a ladder of progression. Natural selection, biodiversity, tends to check every avenue at once, even keeps checking things that were never productive before. And you can have parrots who scatter their seeds to the wind without a care. At least they're doing better than the ones who eat their own kids. But if a trait emerges wherein some grisly thing actually tolerates these helpless morsels, then that sets the stage for progression. Because these imps have the edge over orphan or abandoned spawn having to hit the ground running to fend for themselves.